Okay, for those of us that did the Multiple Madness class this last weekend, we've been going back and forth on Facebook. People are asking me questions about how I'm doing my center medallion. So let me just start off with, I've got my wedges sewed together, and what I did is I pressed my background twice so that I could find my center. And then what I did, I laid it so that my creases were in the ditches of the four sides. So you can see that I have it on there, and I feel pretty confident that it's centered pretty well on there. Then what I did is I stitched it down with an eighth of an inch from the edge of the wedges, and you can see that there. Instead of doing a buttonhole stitch, which takes a lot of time, this is nice and easy, gets the job done, and you're not going to see any raw edges because they're all tucked under anyway. So what I did next is I needed to decide how big my hole was in my center, and the holes vary. So I needed to find the largest hole and try to cover it. I found in my stash an empty spool thread, a thread spool, and it's 2.5 inches in diameter, and it fits perfectly over my hole. I really like the size of this one. So what I did is I found my plastic template, and this is not heat resistant, but I'm being very careful when I'm pressing that it's not melting, so you can use non-heat resistant mylar or plastic template, but you really should use the heat resistant if this is the technique that you choose. You can also just use Steam-A-Seam, probably Steam-A-Seam Light, and of course just, figure out the size of the circle that you want to put on there. And it doesn't even have to be a circle. If you want to put a square there, put a square there. You decide. It's your quilt. But if you use the Steam-A-Seam, then of course it's going to be, you're going to seam it down, and it's going to be adhered to the center of your block. With the template, mylar template, or the template plastic that I'm using, what I decided to do is cut out my circles, and this circle is at least 1/4 of an inch bigger than my template. And then what I'm doing is I'm hand basting this down. So I'm just taking probably from 1/8 of an inch to the edge. I'm just weaving a stitch on the wrong side, so that when I put my template piece in the center and start pulling, see how nicely that goes around the edge? And if you do that all the way around and then pull it together and heat set it, don't hold your steam on there for very long because this will melt. As you can see here, I've got one that's kind of wonky. But if you do that, then once you've got it basted all the way around and you've pressed it once, then you can just cut the thread, leave a little tail so that once you pull the mylar template out, it will look like this. And then my little piece of thread is just, I've got it tucked in here, but I went ahead and I pulled it a little tight, and then I turned it over on the right side and I pressed it again. And doesn't that look pretty? That's very pretty. So then what I did is I laid that in the center. Actually, I sprayed it with spray based, and then I put it in the center, and I pressed it down with the iron. And then I took it to the machine, and I did a straight stitch all the way around. And look at that. And you can see from the back that that's what it is. It's a straight stitch. And I am done with this block. I hope that helps you decide on how you want to do your center.